All right, so I'm running the planer a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and let's plane up some of this cedar for our bar sign. This is all rough cut cedar, but this has been out here for a year or so. You can see it a little bit better this way. But let's run this through the planer, and then I can show you how I will rip it up and size it for the bar sign. It's about, what do you say, 1 5/16". Let's run it through at 1 5/16" first, which will be a little loose. Probably. There's 1 5/16". All right, you got ear protection. I'm gonna click that off. That's gonna end up being the back side. You're not really gonna see that. That'll be against the wall. This will be our face side because we just got a lot more of the color in it. I'm gonna take one more pass on it. So that's it. That's what we're looking for. That'll sand out really nice. It'll look good. We can make a bar sign out of it. Let's get a couple pieces of this cedar cut for our bar sign. This is what we planed out the other day. So we need some pieces that are 2.5 inch wide, and I'm gonna have to free hand cut the first one. So I want to just cut this less desirable material off first. All right, so we're gonna make these 2.5 inches wide. There. Might not end up using this one. I'm gonna cut extra, but I want to show you what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a rabbet and cut out a 1/2 inch square so that we can put a piece of plywood and recess a piece of plywood in it. So we got a 1/2 inch height there, and then we want a 1/2 inch here. Just had to raise the blade up a little bit because we weren't quite making it into that corner. So that's all. I want to chop that out of there, and then this will be our recessed area for the plywood board, and this is just our frame. So we're going to make a bunch of these and pick out what's best, and then we'll do the rest. Frame. Do a little bit on seeing how the corners fit. Let's see, I'll measure it on this side. Yeah, 81 1/4. Well, I think that's going to work. Let me put some, I'm going to get the biscuit cutter out and we'll put some biscuits in it. Same. I'm basically just centering the blade. That's what we're after. There's our mark. So we're going to say like 1 3/4 maybe from the inside. on this big window. Just put a piece of, alright, that's gonna work. We put a little bit of glue in this bad boy. Put a little bit of glue on the biscuit too. We got pieces ready. And I just do both sides of the piece at once, so I'm not trying to wrestle with it while it's laying sideways. Alright, about ready to stick two pieces together. Okay, now this one. But we're going to put in a panel, obviously behind, like that, where it'll say beer and wine, and then another divider board in cedar, and then the chalkboard type thing where we'll have our hangers here. So this piece just happens to be a good size, not a lot of waste, and it looks good. So I'm going to use that. All right, let's cut that line. All right, so you got to cut it long enough to have an overhang in the back. So 69 is our number. All right, that's probably the bare minimum. Let's try that. Okay, that will go in like that. And then I just want like a bead board down on the bottom here, which is going to be like 5/8 thick probably, and 1 inch overall, so it'll just be a 1/2 inch proud of this. And the frame is actually 1.5 inches, so it'll be short. To take put a 1/2 inch notch piece is going to fit like that, and that'll frame it. And that will end up being all of the cedar work. All we would have to do now is sand this stuff. first by that. Alright, that's what it's going to look like. And then just in here we're going to fill it in with a piece of plywood painted black. Alright, rather than putting this whole sheet of plywood away, we'll go ahead and cut the section we need out of it for the bar sign. So our length is 69 and a 16. Nice. Get a quick base coat of paint on this, and we'll let it sit. Finish off this old gallon. Good base coat on, and another gallon of old paint used up. So, let this dry and then do a little more on it a little later on. Alright, I'm going to just giving you a quick view of Joe Sploot. Start working on putting a little bit of polyurethane on this bar sign frame, which will bring the color of the cedar out a lot. Alright, loving that. Totally love it. Let's let that dry, and we'll come back for a couple more coats. Alright, that's number 2. Coat number 2. Definitely going to go for 3. And then we'll see what it looks like. But I'm liking it so far. I think I lost the footage of how we laid this grid out. But just as a little recap, we're going to drill a bunch of holes in these so that these placards can hang on pieces of little dowels. So just little pegs. You'll be able to hang these things so that I can switch them out for whatever wine and beer is available at that event. So we got to drill a bunch of 5/16 holes for the dowels. Okay, I'm going to bring this outside so we can sand off the burrs from drilling it. Alright, now we got to cut a bunch of dowels and glue and tap them in. Alright, okay, I'm ready to put coat number 3 of polyurethane on this frame. And really, it's ready to go, but I'm just going to take a little bit of 400 grit. Just rub across the top of it a little bit just to get any of the contaminants out of it. Probably a little bit overkill, but I think it will make the finish a little bit nicer. Let's let that set up, see how it comes out. Alright, we're shooting on location today. These are all the exchangeable plaques that they're going to need for this bar sign. That's really what is what they're serving right now, so they can always change it out when they update their bar menu. I usually put 3 coats of just a water-based poly on these, just to seal them up so that the lettering doesn't come off, or at least doesn't come off easy anyway. Especially something like this little thin script that'll come off of there really easy. And all these letters just cut with a vinyl cutting machine. It really works great. It's slow though, it's time consuming just because the equipment is really slow. And that white will disappear when this stuff when it dries. So let that sit and dry. We'll wrap up this brush, and we'll give it another coat in a little bit. So these are the pegs that those the plaques will hang on. So the backboard's a 1/2 inch thick. So if I make them 1.25 inches, that'll give us a 3/4 inch peg to stick out of there, which I think is plenty. I don't think we need any more than that. Alright, I'm going to gather those up and get a count on them. See how many I can find. Let's see if we have enough of them. Okay, we got all our pegs, 1.25 inches. I want to just break the sharp edge on one side of all of these for the side that's going to be showing. So I'm just going to run them on the belt sander. Okay, that's that. Alright, so let's just check our peg fit. Oh man, it's like perfect. So this is the top. I'm gonna mark that. But I don't have any. And the foamy glue is gonna probably gonna make me a bit of more of a mess to deal with. Because it's gonna foam up and then I'm gonna have to clean it around the holes, but that's what I got. And I just want to make sure I put my sanded side up. So we still have our pattern piece here. So that's what's going to happen. We're going to hang on there like that. See if we can clean it off. And then we're going to put a fresh coat of paint on that thing and closing in on getting it finished. Side up. So now we have this rabbet around the sides and the bottom, but not the top. So the pegs are offset by about a 1/2 inch. So let's just double check. By eye it looks like that's the bottom, this is the top. Two 3/8. 2. Yeah, so this is the top. That's going to sit in there like that. Gotta glue this in a little bit. I'm just gonna put some really small nails in it to just kind of hold it in place. I'm really only looking for these nails to hold this in place until the glue dries. Doesn't need a ton. All right, let's let it sit, let that glue set up, and then we'll flip it over, take a look at it. All right, the glue's set up on this, so let's have our reveal. How does it look? Yeah, that's what it's gonna look like. There's that glue bleeding through. Let's see if we can save ourselves here. put on the beer and wine decals. So we need this transfer tape. I don't really push it down really hard, but you gotta get this stick to it a little bit. And then you gotta peel the backer off. You gotta kind of wrestle with the lettering. The vinyls that I had. This stuff is really hard to peel. It just doesn't want to come off the backer. Oh, it's nice when they're linked together. Just going to center that, something like that. Ripple it there. Push on this white. Get that stuck down. Now wine. I'll try to get it to stick to this transfer tape better, because I think when you fold it that hard, it'll pop off of there. Wine. That. That's the start of it. We're gonna have to come back with a craft brush and clean up some of that, those paint marks and hide those. And then maybe we can install this thing. Let's go install this thing. All right, me and Joe are on location to put up this new bar sign. So that's what we're replacing, that one. that's that. Thanks for tuning in.